What's up, squad? This is Charlie Smith here. Before we get into the video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Today's video is all about breaking down the LIL DURK case, and we even brought in a detective to discuss it. A popular rap artist is behind bars after a shocking arrest, as authorities accuse him of being connected to an alleged murder-for-hire plot. Chicago rapper Dirk Banks, better known by his stage name Lil Durk, was arrested yesterday after allegedly attempting to flee the country. He is currently being held in Broward County Jail in Florida, awaiting transfer to U.S. Marshals custody. According to the FBI affidavit, the Grammy-nominated rapper is charged with conspiracy to commit murder for hire. His arrest comes on the same day federal prosecutors in California announced charges against 5 other men for the attempted murder of Georgia rapper Quando Rondo, whose real name is Tyquan Bowman. Prosecutors allege that these 5 men, all with connections to Chicago gangs, targeted the Georgia rapper in retaliation for the murder of Chicago rapper King Von. According to court documents, the 5 men, identified as Kayvon London Grant, aka Voney, Asa Houston, aka Boogie, David Brian Lindsay, aka Brown Eyes, Keith Jones, aka Clay, and DeAndre Dantrell Wilson, aka Day, face multiple charges including conspiracy to commit murder for hire resulting in death, and use of a machine gun in a violent crime. If convicted, they face the possibility of the death penalty. All 5 men are reportedly connected to Lil Durk's hip-hop group, Only the Family OTF. Founded by Lil Durk over a decade ago, OTF has been identified by the FBI as a group involved in violent acts, including murder and assault. Allegedly at Lil Durk's direction to maintain status within OTF, King Von, whose real name was Davon Bennett, was also part of OTF and was a close friend and frequent collaborator of Lil Durk. Von was shot and killed in November 2020 outside an Atlanta nightclub during an argument that escalated to gunfire. He was fatally shot by Quando Rondo's associate, Lil Tim. The indictment does not name King Von directly, but instead refers to him as a high-ranking OTF member, with the initials DB involved in a physical altercation with an individual named TB. The circumstances described match those surrounding King Von's murder. The indictment states that after DB's death, co-conspirator 1 used coded language to offer a bounty or reward for anyone who killed TB in retaliation. This co-conspirator is allegedly Lil Durk, whom authorities claim openly offered a reward to anyone who killed Quando Rondo. According to court documents, the individuals used resources associated with OTF. An associated credit card was allegedly used to buy plane tickets to LA in August 2022 to search for TB, who is reportedly Quando Rondo, with funds provided by Lil Durk. Durk is accused of texting an associate to arrange the flight, instructing, "Don't book any flights under any names connected to me." Prosecutors claim that once there, Kayvon Grant booked a hotel room for the group and provided them with firearms. Grant is further alleged to have arranged vehicles, ski masks, and firearms used to track and locate TB. According to the FBI, video evidence places Durk at a house in the San Fernando Valley on the same day. These detailed stories are essential to keep bringing to the audience, and one of the best ways to support this channel is by subscribing. According to the indictment, Kayvon Grant allegedly rented 2 cars, one with a fake license plate, for the group to use while following Rondo and his 24-year-old cousin. When Rondo and his cousin stopped for gas, prosecutors allege that Asa Houston drove to a nearby alley. From there, Keith Jones, David Brian Lindsay, and a third unidentified man, referred to as co-conspirator 2, carried out the shooting, which was captured on surveillance video. Rondo wasn't injured, however, his cousin succumbed to fatal injuries. Court documents indicate that the 5 men and co-conspirators used interstate and foreign commerce facilities, such as planes, cars, cell phones, and the internet, with intent to commit TB's murder. After the shooting, the group allegedly went to a nearby burger spot to discuss payment. On the same day, the credit card was reportedly used again to purchase plane tickets for Keith Jones, David Brian Lindsay, Asa Houston, DeAndre Wilson, and co-conspirator 2 to return to Chicago. Lil Durk isn't directly named in the charging documents for Grant, Wilson, Jones, Lindsay, and Houston, but according to the indictment, the defendants were allegedly offered money and lucrative music opportunities with OTF in exchange for the murder of Quando Rondo. Before Lil Durk's arrest, the Chicago rapper was already facing a lawsuit from the mother of Chicago drill rapper FBG Duck. FBG Duck was murdered in 2020, and his death led to multiple convictions in a federal conspiracy trial last January. However, his mother filed a lawsuit against Lil Durk, OTF, and King Von's estate, alleging their involvement in the shooting as well. According to the lawsuit, OTF operates as a criminal enterprise. After Grant, Jones, Lindsay, Wilson, and Houston were arrested on Thursday, the FBI reports that Durk booked 2 flights from South Florida airports, one to Dubai and another to Switzerland. He then reportedly booked a flight to Italy, but was arrested in Miami before he could board. Lil Durk and the other defendants are currently held, pending their transfer back to Los Angeles. We brought in a detective to talk a bit about the case.
It's a very interesting case. I've been following it for some time now, but it's very representative of things that are going on within the hip hop community these days of the, 1 foot in the studio, 1 foot in the streets.
And talk to me a little bit about retaliation within gang culture, maybe even within hip-hop culture as well. We can trace these specific events back to King Von's death in Georgia in 2020, and 2 years later the attempted murder of Quando Rondo, during which his cousin was killed in an ambush. What's your reaction to this entire web and trail of events that's essentially been unfolding since 2020, if not even earlier?
Well, one of the things that's been popular with hip hop artists is to maintain the same group of friends that they had since they were kids. Maintaining that loyalty, not changing up and becoming a new person because you have fame. And so in keeping these alliances, sometimes there's beef that follows from the streets into rap. And, like I said, these guys live day to day, and their alliances also live that same lifestyle.
And, reading through this indictment, there seems to be a very high level of planning to allegedly carry out this murder. Plane tickets were purchased, cars were rented, ski masks and firearms were obtained. Talk to me a bit about the sophistication you may have noticed in the planning and these allegations.
Well, one of the things that you have to, the hurdles, so to say, that you have to get over in this case is just the geographic difficulties going from Chicago to California to commit this offense. And so there's only a couple ways you can get there. Either you can drive or you can fly. Obviously the advantage of flying gives you more of a time advantage. You can get there faster, but you also leave an electronic footprint. And that's what it seems like law enforcement was able to pick up on. It was the electronic footprints that were left from purchasing the tickets. Now when you fly, you also have to have transportation on the ground. So you have rental cars. And if you're there for an extended period of time, that also leads to maybe a hotel stay.
As we discuss this level of planning, there also seems to be an element of poor planning if the goal was to avoid getting caught. Some of the 5 defendants actually used their real names, birth dates, and photo IDs to book the travel, and then one of the co-conspirators texted another saying, "Don't book any flights under any names connected to me." What's your reaction to allegedly carrying out something like this using your real name and ID, but also trying to keep it low-key and avoid detection?
Well, I think that when I read over that, I was kind of surprised by that, how unhidden that was. But I think also it plays to the element of what their motivation was. And it seemed that, as there was some discussion of payment. And so sometimes individuals are so intrigued by being able to get their hands on whatever this payment is that they overlook small details, and leaving your name on a receipt or on a reservation is one of those things that they missed.
When we look at these types of cases, we often see that the defendants allegedly have one specific target in mind. But there are also instances where someone else gets hurt or killed in the midst of this focus on retaliation. What are your thoughts on this, considering that Quando Rondo's cousin was actually the one killed when the alleged plot was aimed at him?
I think it's always unfortunate that innocent people get caught in the line of fire. It's something that we deal with often within street violence. But I also think within the streets, there's also a mentality when there's a retaliation and gang culture that if you get caught riding with someone that I have beef with, then it just it's the rules of the streets. It's like you put yourself in that situation, and now you have to, unfortunately, read the circumstances of it.
And there have also been rumors circulating online that there might have been an informant or even a snitch within OTF who may have provided information to the feds. Do you think it's possible in this case that they needed an insider to shed light on how everything was planned out and how it all came together?
Well, I know that there was very detailed information, and it definitely indicates that the investigators did a great job digging up surveillance footage and being able to uncover some of the intimate details. I don't know if there was an informant necessarily, but it seems that they do have some very personal details in their indictment.
If there was possibly an informant, how would that play a role in this case? Within the culture, there's often a strict no snitching policy. But what are your thoughts on whether there might have been an informant and how that could have impacted the case overall?
The no snitching thing is very huge in the street and within the hip hop culture. But one thing that within the law enforcement community, when someone is looking at a significant sentence, which I think murder for hire either carries in some sort of situations, death penalty, and also life in prison. It's every man for himself at that moment. And so the old cliche of the first one to talk is the best deal, normally that weighs very heavily in these cases.
Some of the defendants, in addition to being offered money, were also promised lucrative music opportunities if they carried out this murder. We've been discussing how rap culture often overlaps with gang culture, but what's your reaction to the idea of these lucrative opportunities being offered as an incentive to carry out this bounty?
Well, it's the American dream of wanting to be able to create a better opportunity for yourself and your family. And unfortunately, a lot of individuals have, the dream of making it in the rap business, and you're just not given the opportunity. So that is something that is going to be very alluring to a lot of individuals because they not only want to be able to have the rap contract, but also the rap lifestyle. And some people are willing to do whatever it takes to get that.
Sometimes when we see these cases, especially gang cases that also cross over into hip-hop like YNW Melly, this case with Lil Durk, and even YSL, you can't help but notice just how young some of the defendants are and the alleged activities they're being accused of. Many of them are in their 20s, likely starting this lifestyle as teenagers. What are your thoughts on just how young these defendants are as they come up, often chasing the American dream, while also being tied to street culture, where they might not fully realize the potential consequences? Either they face prison, or they might end up dead on the street. What's your take on that whole layer and aspect of it?
Well, I think one of the things that weighs heavily on the influence is the fact that, a guy that you may have grown up with, seen around the neighborhood. Now he has this lucrative rap contract and is driving, foreign cars and living in expensive houses and traveling, all across the country. They almost become larger than life. And so when you have a young individual that maybe hasn't had the best role models in life, what they're able to see this individual achieve is going to be larger than any kind of verbal warning that someone can tell them. They're going to take their word as being, good. If I can carry out what is being asked of me, then maybe I can live this lifestyle as well. And I think that reality weighs heavier than any consequence that you can think of.
As someone who works as a detective focused on street gangs, what are you hearing from the inside that you'd be willing to discuss on camera regarding the motivation for continuing to be part of this lifestyle?
Well, obviously what everyone is doing right now across social media as well as the streets and within the street culture is they're kind of unpacking this indictment. They're trying to breaking it down line by line, trying to piece things together, figure out if there is an informant. I'm also figuring out if this was something that was carried out on behalf of King Von, and just connecting the dots on, their from their levels. But I think that what factors into that is the theory that, nobody claims to get caught. The plan is we're going to do it, we're going to get away with it, and we're looking 100 yards down the field instead of seeing what's going on right now. And the factor of getting caught now being named in a federal indictment, that part is not really thought of too heavily because, again, nobody factors in that I am going to get caught for this.
And going back to the Lil Durk aspect of it, he's a very popular rap artist with many hit songs, and a lot of fans look up to him. While we don't know for sure at this point, it seems that many people are alleging he's somewhat of a kingpin within OTF, possibly someone orchestrating these plots and essentially running a criminal enterprise. What are your thoughts on the way people often allege that these popular rap artists are kingpins of criminal street gangs?
Well, I think with this case, it's going to be very interesting in how it plays out. But we're going to really get into the basics of rap being entertainment or rappers really living what they rap about.
And I think there's definitely something that's a hurdle the investigators are going to have to get over, which is proving that this Lil Durk's role in OTF wasn't merely entertainment, that he actually had a role within the street culture of OTF.
And do you see any other hurdles that investigators might encounter as they go through this case?
Anytime that you're dealing with multiple people with inside, in an indictment, co-conspirators, what's people's roles kind of change, and then there's money as well involved with some of the people that were discussed in this case. So it's also heavily influenced by the street life and culture, gang life and culture. And so what they have today may change, and hopefully on the investigators' end, what you see in that indictment would only kind of snowball and grow larger. Maybe they're able to develop more evidence and convert some of these co-conspirators into witnesses for the government.
That was Detective Barnes providing us with a detailed overview of the case's progress. According to the latest reports, Jones and Houston have a scheduled hearing in Chicago on Monday, while Grant, Wilson, and Lindsay waived their right to a hearing and will be sent directly to Los Angeles. As for Lil Durk, he remains in custody awaiting transfer, with serious charges of conspiracy to commit murder and criminal association still pending against him. His involvement with OTF and rumors about his leadership in this operation remain a central focus of the investigation. As the case unfolds, we'll keep an eye on upcoming hearings and new developments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to stay updated on all the latest news about Lil Durk's case and other topics in the world of hip-hop and justice.